In today's video, we are going to be breaking down how Jonathan Kuminga shoots the basketball. I hope I never butchered his name. If I did, I am very sorry. He is the next up-and-coming star when it comes to high school basketball, coming into college, university, potentially into the NBA in the future as well. I personally think with the skills he has, he could be an impact player today in the NBA, but let's get down and let's check out how Jonathan shoots the basketball. So these are some of the most up-to-date clips that I have, and in this first clip, obviously all of these clips are going to be training clips. There's not much happening right now when it comes to basketball away from the professional scene, so because of COVID. But anyways, let's go into his shooting form. He tends to gather the ball in front of his hips and right in the middle, not on the left side or not on the right. Now, from there, he brings that ball up, and we want to really look at his elbow. Does his elbow bend on the way up? And I'm going to say, no, it does not. It does not bend from his gather up to his set point. The reason why I really want to look at that is because the least amount of movement in your shot, and I've said this in other videos as well, allows you to be a more consistent shooter, because when you've got less movement in your body when it comes to your way your body points, your hips, your shoulders, your elbow, and even your offhand, the least amount of movement, the better. And why I say this is because when you start getting extra movements or added movements onto your shot, that's when things start going awry, because if you get into a cold streak, there's more things to correct. And what I mean by movement in hips and knees, I don't mean bending. I mean moving sideways, twisting, things like that. The next thing I want to look at is his base, and he does have shoulder width or roughly shoulder width apart feet, which is great. His right foot does come in front of his left, which is going to give him power and accuracy. His left foot does tend to point towards the rim in most shots, and his right foot is slightly tilted away from the rim. Now, why is this important? And I get a lot of people who comment saying, well, not everyone shoots with squared up feet. And I agree, not everyone does shoot with squared up feet. But when it comes to your base, it really does help out everything else get in line. Now, you generally want to have in your set point, which is right here, is to have your elbow underneath the ball, generally speaking, and then you want to have your shoulder in line with the elbow towards the rim. Now, what do we have here? We have a shoulder that is in line with the elbow going towards that rim. That is your first point of accuracy. Next is to have that ball over top of the elbow, which we do not have. It's slightly off towards the left. Our right, his left. Which is why he finds success with shooting with a foot that's tilted towards the rim. Now, has he done hundreds of shots of tests to see if bringing that ball more towards the left side and straightening that foot out could give him a greater accuracy or a greater shooting percentage? I'm not too sure. I'm not him. But if you shoot like this and you're shooting over, let's say, 60% or 50% when wide open, I personally would not be changing that much unless you get into a cold streak that you cannot get out of. But at this point in time, this is how he shoots. His right foot is slightly tilted away, left foot towards the rim. The next thing I want to see is that his right knee is also pointing away from the rim, but his left knee is pointing towards the rim. His right hip is more ahead of his left hip, which puts him slightly off from the rim, and also his upper body is slightly off from the rim as well. Going up into his set point, he does tend to have the ball over top of his forehead, right in the middle, and his set point has his left hand, his offhand, his guide hand on the top quarter of that ball. When he goes for his follow-through, we can see right here that he does tend to shoot with his pointer and his middle finger last touching the ball. Because there is no frame that shows the exact release, because he does have in this frame both of those fingers up, I'm going to say that most likely he shoots with both those fingers. Now, between his elbow being out from the ball as well as shooting with his middle finger and pointer finger, I'm going to say that his right side of his body being more ahead than his left side of his body, which is pointing him towards that left side, I'm going to say that that elbow is a major part. And also shooting with those two fingers is also a major part in his accuracy to be able to have that elbow out, which he probably finds more comfortable than having the elbow in. We also notice that he does not shoot with a thumb flick. His hand is perfectly pointing, I guess you could say, away from the rim, vertical or not parallel towards the rim, which shows us that he does not have a thumb flick like Curry or like Kyrie Irving. When he does take his shot, he does slightly guide forward, maybe about 5 or 6 inches, which is good. You generally want to go straight up and straight back down. When you start really moving in multiple directions, that is when you start missing shots. And at that point, if that was to happen, that is a very quick and easy fix if he does go on to a cold streak. Now, watching from behind, what we do see is again the same thing. Picking the ball up from the middle of his hips and not bending much of that elbow until he gets to his set point. Now, from his set point, we still do see that he is activating all of his muscles in his calves to get up into his shot at first. We can see that activate right there. And then when he gets up into the air, that is when, or at least his heels get up into the air, that is when his upper legs, his quads start to activate, and we can really see that transition of power, that transition of momentum. Now, from there, what do we see here? From the behind, we can see that his ring finger and his pointer finger are some of the last fingers to touch the ball, and then we can see that that middle finger is truly the last finger that does touch it. However, I have seen in multiple clips that sometimes that pointer finger is the last finger with the middle finger to touch the ball. From there, we can see that he does release his follow through before that ball touches the rim. That could be just from being a practice session or not. It doesn't necessarily matter. As long as you release that follow through after you release the ball, you're generally okay. But in game, if you're starting to struggle, definitely keep that arm up for an extra second. That will help with your consistency. From there, what I would also like to look at is after his follow through, his arm does tend to go out at a 45-degree angle, which allows his elbow to be above his head, and that's going to allow him to have arc. Arc is very important. I've mentioned this in multiple videos. If you've got lots of arc and that ball is going to drop in with arc, this is what the rim will look like. If you got less arc, the rim is going to look smaller to that ball, and you generally want to have your elbow above your head because of arc. Now, just really quickly analyzing a three-point shot, he does drift roughly 5 inches forward again as well, and that just goes on and really emphasizes my point of not wanting to drift too far forward, backwards, or sideways. Now, if you're looking to extend your range even farther, make sure to do different vertical jump training exercises. That's going to allow you to extend your range. If you want a vertical jump training program, make sure to go check out the one I have down in the description below. Anyways, I'll see you guys again next time. I hope that this video has helped you become a better shooter in basketball.